Hey guys, a truly sleepy reader here tonight with yet another video because just realized I wanted to enter 1zangelique's contest. Even though I don't really do contests anymore, I really like 1zangelique's channel. I like the whole vibe of the way he talks about comic books. I always just get a lot of pleasure out of it, so I wanted to participate. And the topic he asked people to do a video on is George Perez and Marv Wolfman, creators that mean a lot to me. So I just wanted to become involved. I don't really care whether or not I win the prize, although it's an excellent prize. It's a graphic novel that Perez and Wolfman did as kind of a reprise of their days doing the new Teen Titans, which is what they're most famous for. At least I think that's what they're most famous for. Although they've both done lots of great work. For me, I remember noticing Perez right away when I first saw him doing work in the Avengers and on the Fantastic Four. He was definitely one amongst many of the post-Jack Kirby people at Marvel. But he had something special. I remember noticing the layouts and kind of the way he positioned characters just was really appealing and a little different from everyone else. And I remember always getting kind of psyched. Oh, I found another George Perez comic book. So he did a lot of good work at Marvel. And then when he showed up at DC doing the new Teen Titans, he stepped it up. To just this incredible, he became George Perez. You know, he was not a artist doing someone else or coming after someone else. He was definitely George Perez, an artist for other people to imitate for years afterwards. And as far as I know, he and Marv Wolfman just sort of both came over to DC all of a sudden and started the new Teen Titans. I don't know if they did any other work there before that. Marv Wolfman even more, I remember as a mainstay of Marvel, probably doing Fantastic Four, doing lots of other stuff. I believe he created Nova. He was certainly the writer on Nova, all the issues of Nova I have from back then. And he was very notable for his run on The Tomb of Dracula along with Gene Colan. Those were wonderful issues. Whenever I could find them as a kid, I would grab them up right away, because there was this large cast of characters centered around Dracula, and he was always finding new ways to play those characters off in different ways against each other and take stories from different angles. So he turned what could have just been a kind of static horror comic into this kind of brilliant ongoing thing, which was ongoing piece of art, which was, less common back in the 70s. Comics usually just were one and done and weren't so much part of a bigger tapestry the way Dracula was. I think he was even an editor-in-chief of Marvel for a while. So he was really one of the main kind of post-Stan Lee guys to, whenever you saw that he was scripting a comic book, you knew it was going to be solid fun. But he also stepped up his game, at least in terms of superheroes, because his game was up very high in Dracula with the new Teen Titans. And he and Perez, along with just doing some really tightly plotted, beautifully drawn, character-driven superhero team comics, they created a comic where the female characters were just as important as the male characters and just as strong. And they created a lot of new characters. That may not be by them, but it's related. They created a lot of new characters. Most of the female characters were new. Just as a matter of course, I think half or more of the new Teen Titans were brand new characters that they created and are now mainstays of the DC universe, like Cyborg and Starfire. They created Raven. I believe they created Terra. And you can just see how fantastic the covers were, issue after issue after issue, and the interior art was just as great. Always so detailed and such good storytelling. Now, unfortunately, after the Titans, I didn't follow Perez so much. I really wish I had read his Wonder Woman run. In fact, I'd like to go back and find that. But I know that he's done lots of great work. I mean, he's become kind of, one of the artists of DC, kind of a shaper of it. So anyway, I want to keep it short. Perez and Marv Wolfman are amongst the kind of architects of the experience of reading comic books in the 70s and the 80s for sure. And they've both done good work since. I think it was still in the 80s sometime, Wolfman teamed back up with Gene Colan and did this marvelous Dark Force comic book. I think that's what it's called, Dark Force, which I also really loved. I think it may have only lasted about 20 or 24 issues, but it was really good stuff. So I'm looking forward to see what other people have to say about Wolfman and Perez. But with them, comic books were fun, but they were intricate, and they were full of heart and real character. But that didn't stop you from having fun. They were still comic books. They weren't trying to be something else. They weren't being fancy or up on their high horse or trying to deconstruct things or anything like that. They were trying to be good, solid superhero comic books. And I think, they've created a real foundation upon which a lot of DC work has been built, just in the New Teen Titans alone. So anyway, thanks to Gare for having this contest, and I'll talk to you all later. Bye-bye.